I'd like to call the Development Review Board for the Town of Bennington to order. It's December 19th, 2023. We have an agenda with one hearing on it, but before that, we will review them. We'll review the minutes. So, does anybody have a motion relative to the minutes?
Make a motion to approve.
Second, Kat. All in favor? Dan?
Thanks, everybody. We do ask everyone who presents to the board this evening to sign in, and it includes a witness oath, which I will not read because I know Jeff's familiar with it, but he has signed the oath and promises to tell the truth. So we're all set with that. The next item on our agenda is disclosure of any ex parte communications or conflicts of interest regarding the matter that's before the board this evening. Seeing none? Okay. We do have one hearing, as the chair mentioned, Thomas Rubio, 200 North Street. They're seeking an amendment to a previously approved development plan for a new building, a new 3-story building for a credit union at 200 North Street. And Jeffrey Goldstone from Goldstone Architecture is here this evening representing the applicant. So Jeffrey, tell us what's going on.
Thanks, Dan. First, thank you all for convening just for this one issue tonight. We're asking for an amendment to the previously issued permit to relocate Heritage Family Credit Union's new building on the same site that was previously permitted in order to conform with FEMA's requirements based upon a conditional letter of map revision that we received, and I think was included in your packet, which redefined the special flood hazard area on the site. We've relocated the building now in a manner that does not conform to the form-based zoning requirements for the maximum setback in a corner property. Simply stated, if we were to locate the building where we previously had wanted to locate it and where it was previously approved, it would have had to be elevated approximately 5 feet, we believe, from the proposed elevation, and making it handicap access and general accommodation to the public almost impossible without having an elevator to grade and other things that we were not interested in doing. So the site itself is laid out in precisely the same way. Everything is just simply shifted to the northwest about 20 feet. And we now have the lower or the southeastern corner of the building placed directly on the line, which you will see on your packet is called out as the intermediary cross-section of base flood elevation of 673.0, and we're planning to put the first floor of the building, and it's a slab on grade, no basement. The first floor of the building will be at 674.5, approximately 1.5 feet above the base flood elevation, and therefore entirely outside of the special flood hazard area. I think that's about it, and I'm happy to answer any questions about how we got to this point and why we put the building where we did.
I just do want to clarify that the setbacks that are non-conforming are farther away from the street than the LUDR would specify.
That's correct. The LUDR says that we have a maximum setback on this property, I believe, of 25 feet from any frontage, and because it's a corner property, we have 2 front yards, so we're 25 feet and 25 feet. Our previous location, I can't recall exactly, but was at or less than 25 feet from the property lines, and now we are, I believe, 39 feet and 55 feet. 39 feet from River Street, 55 feet from North Street, where it's currently placed. And you can see that the parking comes to very close to the property line on the north. We would have had to redesign the site significantly in order to maintain the number of parking spaces we need if we moved any further to the north, and that's how we got to this placement.
Great. Thank you.
The one other site change was because we have a very large front yard. We're proposing a small plaza, more or less a public plaza off the sidewalk in the corner, a couple benches in there, just a space to help reduce the amount of lawn park land that would otherwise be there.
Any questions?
And one, given the limitations of the floodplain on the property, is this really the only location for the development on this piece of property?
No, it's a good question. As long as we were to the northwest of that green line, we could be outside of the base flood, or the flood zone, the special flood hazard area. So we could slide to the southwest or to the northeast without violating the FEMA approval. But this is the location that's on the current conditional letter of map revision. And so we're presenting the location that was approved by FEMA. If we were to slide to the northeast or the southwest, we'll have to go back through the FEMA process, and we couldn't do that on the timeline that we are. They would like to close on this property this month. That's what their agreement is with the current owner, Heritage Family Wood. And so we want to have approval for this site as presented to you, with the understanding that as we finish the design, we may actually have to come back to you again to ask for a slight revision to this, to the northeast or the southwest, but always outside of the base flood. So. And I guess, let me state one more thing. Nowhere along that line would we conform to both of the maximum setback regulations. We could conform to the maximum setback as established from North Street or the maximum setback as established from River Street, but not both, without elevating approximately 5 feet.
Well, I think if we're going to, have redevelopment on the property, that seems like the best scenario considering the floodplain. Personally, I don't think the setback issue, should trump the ability for the property to be redeveloped. I know it's a little bit out of sync with what regulations say, but I think it's a trade-off. I'd much rather see the property developed by this tenant in a responsible manner than impact, the floodplain or not comply with the recommended, setbacks on that type of stuff. That's my opinion.
Any other questions or comments?
Dan, I do have one quick
Yes,
question.
Dan?
And Jeff, you may not be able to answer this, so I apologize, but is the entire building as proposed now out of the special flood hazard area, or do you still have to, or are portions of it in the rear or whatever? Because I noticed that the line kind of wraps around.
As we now understand it, the entire building, and as shown in the FEMA letter, the entire building is outside of the special flood hazard area.
That was my understanding, but just wanted to confirm.
Yes.
So thank you for that. Yeah.
I'll put down on that, so if you were to, download the latest information from DCGI, it will still show that that's the special flood hazard area, but you have a map amendment essentially for this site, clarifying that that's not.
We have a conditional letter of map revision,
Okay.
and it's conditional at this point.
Conditional on,
It's not conditional on anything we have to do. I think it's a process, and this is where I'm not an expert.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Nicole, as well as her entire staff, has already gone on their winter vacations. They weren't able to join us tonight, and so I'm speaking to the best of my knowledge. But as my understanding that, and as long as we don't cross that line, we're okay, and as soon as we cross it, we're in an unknown zone. I was pointing out to one of your members earlier, perhaps out of line here, but I'll now say to everybody, if you look at the FEMA permit for this property, you'll see a zone that's shaped, and it was originally on our presentation that we gave you initially, that has sort of a loop in it, that we were building what we thought was, or we were proposing to build in an area that we thought was out of the special flood hazard area. And that's why we had placed the building where we did, and was the only place on the site that we could meet the setback requirements and also meet the FEMA requirements. And we were then informed, because if you look at that, there's a line that goes right through there, or it's implied on the permit that it would go right through there. And when we questioned this, we were told that, in fact, we have to be on the other side of this 673 line. We also have two lines that virtually cross on this property with a 5-foot difference in elevation, as on the FEMA maps. So if we were to move down into this area here, we would actually be, according to the FEMA maps, 5 feet underwater. And that's why we would have to go up 5 feet further than we do now. Obviously, that isn't correct, but that's what FEMA has.
I've got two questions. One, is there a basement?
There is no basement, slab on grade.
And secondly, do you know how much the distance is at the existing site from the street, from Pleasant Street back to
Well, I will say the south, make sure I get this, west corner of this proposal is very close to the southwest corner of the existing building. They're
Yeah,
almost
we-
both right on the,
We provided you with an existing building, existing site plan, and I don't have an overlay of our proposed location over that existing building, but this is actually moving us closer to the existing building and further from the historic building, which was the old hotel that used to be right along. It's not Pleasant Street, but it's actually River Street.
No, I meant the existing bank where they are now.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Because that's something you can visualize, how
Oh.
deep, how far back from
No, I'm sorry, I have no idea.
Pleasant Street it is. I just was curious.
Yeah, I mean, it's got that sort of hill in front of it. Yeah, I don't know the answer to that, no, sorry.
is there any motions from the board? Charlie?
I'll make a motion to approve as presented. I'll second.
Bill second. All in favor? Seeing none opposed.
Thank you, everybody.
Jeff, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
I have no other business this evening, although I would want to let everybody know, and I'll send out an email as well, we will not have a meeting, our first meeting in January. Unknown if we'll have a meeting, our second meeting in January, which would be the third Tuesday. I will certainly let you know, but we will not be meeting the first Tuesday in January. So, Happy New Year, happy holidays, and see you next year.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Any seconds? Jane, second? All in favor? Jane? Okay.
Thank you, everybody.